I was over on Twitter and I posted this meme that's been going around the Dragon Ball fandom where there's this guy with a scouter. And for those who don't know, a scouter, if you don't know anything about Dragon Ball, there are characters that wear scouters that can read the power level of their enemies. So it helps them prepare to see whether, how they stack up against their opponents. So you wear it on your head, push a button, and you point at whoever you want to read their power. And it says, it's in quotations like a girl's telling you, "Bae, that man just tried to talk to me and said, fuck your boyfriend, and then me before I take action." So it's basically implying that you should read a power level before you actually take action. Now, I posted about it on Twitter and I said, saw this meme and wanted to comment on it. And I wrote, "FYI for IRL, if a guy legit disrespects you in front of your girlfriend and you don't at least do something about it, she's going to lose massive respect for you and it doesn't matter what his power level is." So I'm basically saying that if someone disrespects you while you're with your girl or you and your girl, you have to do something about it. Now, I wasn't saying you have to hit the guy in the mouth or freaking, beat him up to a pulp. That's not what I'm saying. But you have to at least, if it's blatant, you have to at least acknowledge it and at least show some respect and tell the guy to chill out. At the very least, tell the dude, "Yo, man, you gotta chill out with that." At least stand up for yourself. In the follow-up tweet, I wrote, I'm not saying you have to swing at the guy, but you need to command respect for you and your relationship against all comers, or else she and others will perceive you as a pussy. And what I'm trying to say is if you don't do something, your girlfriend or wife, fiance may lose respect for you for not having enough respect for her or the relationship to say something. And I'm not saying that you have to beat the guy up. I'm just saying at least acknowledge it and demand respect. But what happened was people were replying to it, giving me all these different situationals. And I found it interesting because I perceived that comment of the girl coming up to you and saying, "Oh, this guy was talking shit," as it being a situation where, you're like in a group surrounding and somebody's just trying to punk you out. But then people brought up, what if the guy has a knife and a gun? And that brought me to this video right here, okay? Because that's a good point. One of the things that I think we have to learn to do as adults, and this is something that I learned to do in my 20s, I didn't have a damn clue how to do it in my early 20s or in my teens, is to read the room. And if you can't read the room and have self-awareness of it, it could end up being a problem. I've seen a lot of pickup artists when it comes to dating talk about reading the room, seeing how many girls are there, seeing which ones you want, just old school club game. That's not what I'm referring to here, okay? This is not about game or relationships. This is about being able to read the room relationship is part of it. It's about being able to read the room as far as being able to socialize properly. And it's something that I think is a talent that we have to all learn, especially if you're antisocial. And for example, in this situation, let's say you're at a club or a bar and a guy disrespects your wife or your girlfriend. If he's drinking or he's under the influence, you could probably let it go because he's been drinking, he's not thinking clearly, and there's no sense in starting drama with a drunk or with, somebody who isn't really clearly judging things. That's worth giving it a pass. Or if you're in a situation where you get disrespected by somebody, but there's like 10 goons there with the guy who are his friends and you're alone. Obviously, unless you're freaking Steven Seagal, it's not a good idea to engage him in a physical way. Or if you know for a fact that somebody has a firearm. If you know a guy is strapped and he's talking shit and you're not strapped, you don't want to be a part of that situation. And trust me when I say this kind of stuff happens in the real world. It's not very frequent, but these things do happen. Most of the time when somebody's insulting you or your girlfriend, if you're out in public, if you read the room properly, sometimes it's not even worth acknowledging them. Like, it's whatever. Like, he's being a dumbass, he's being a bonehead. You can walk away with it and have confidence, especially if your girl, your fiance, and this goes for both sexes too. It's not a guy-girl thing. It could be the other way around. If your partner is truly not bothered by it and is like, let's get out of here. Like, it's not really worth doing anything. But if she is hurt, or if the guy puts his hands on her, or if he actually throws something at her or something like that, that's different. Now we're talking about we're going to throw down, point blank. At that point, the conservative mind in my brain shuts off, and the savage animalistic mind turns on, because that's a different level of disrespect. So I found it interesting how in that thread there were all kinds of different examples. Most agree with me. Actually, everyone pretty much agreed. But there were different examples of different levels of disrespect when it comes to people, coming at you in public. But the good thing is that doesn't happen very often. So if you're out there and you're antisocial, these things do not happen. They certainly do happen in the real world, but it all depends on the environment that you put yourself in. So me personally, I don't like going out to clubs. I know a lot of people do. They love to go out there and get laid and all like this, that, and the other thing and dance. I'm not a big fan of it. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not trying to tell you not to go. You have fun however you want. And with COVID-19, we ain't going nowhere for a while. But let's say everything clears up or whatever. Nothing wrong with going out to the club and having a good time, maybe having a couple drinks. It's normal. It's normal human behavior, socializing. You know, me personally, I don't like being around drunks because of this very example. People who are drunk tend to do things without realizing it. And I've had many issues in the past where I've been around drunks, including some of my very own family, that have made things very, very uncomfortable. But if you're able to read the room, right, and of course, read the room is philosophical. It's not like an actual room. It's read the situation, right? And you're seeing that guys are having drinks, but they're mostly relaxed, trying to take a load off. It's not worth worrying about somebody who's drunk. But once in a while, you have the really shit-faced motherfuckers, and you have to be able to read the room and see that, you know. If you enter a room, usually people who have life experiences will have a radar go off, and they'll be able to really tell the tension in the room. You know, you go into a room with somebody who you don't like, or somebody you have issues with, or somebody you've had history with, you can sense there's a weird sort of tension. You look at each other, you know, really weird feeling, you know. And at that point, it is worth having your guard up. Not saying anything's going to happen to you, but just to be safe. You know, at the end of the day, we as human beings are all primal, you know, animals. We're all pretty much mammals. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, we have the ability to think differently than most of the animal kingdom do. But at the end of the day, we still sort of have that instinctual self-defense mechanism set up in us because of the dangers of the wild. And when I say the wild, I don't just mean animals. I mean humans too. You can be afraid of a shark in the water, but human beings are way more dangerous. You know what I'm talking about? And sometimes it really isn't worth it. You know, and one thing that Redux said on Twitter was that you should never let one person ruin your night, right? That's one thing that's true. You shouldn't let some knucklehead ruin your night. But there is something to be said about having self-respect and respect for your relationship to at least stand up to someone. It's not about ruining your night. It's more so making sure that, you know, you make your spouse feel protected and loved, you know what I mean? And say, yo, listen, man, you don't have to swing at the guy, but say, listen, bro, you're going over the line. Like, relax, you know what I mean? You have to be able to be a man. And when I say be a man, I'm thinking like 80s, you know, I'm talking like, you gotta be strong enough, man, woman, whatever. I'm thinking old school, but you know what I mean. To just say, yo, man, calm down. Like, you know, it's not like you have to go hit the guy, just chill out with what you're doing. But again, there are certain lines that can't be crossed. You know, like I've seen situations, I haven't been in them, where a guy has actually hit on one of my friend's girls, and he actually went so far as to touch her inappropriately in a private part. And my friend didn't do anything about it. 2 months later, they were broken up, and she revealed that it was because of this. And other incidents where he didn't stand up for himself and for her. If a guy puts his hands on your chick in a sexual way, that there's no way that you can just let that go. You can't. Like, you just can't let it go, because that level, if he knows that you're with her, and even if he doesn't, he's putting his hands on her without your permission, that level of disrespect should not be tolerated by any human being. By any human being, dude. Especially if he knows that you're with her. If he knows that that's your girl, then he's pretty much punking you out. And yeah, you shouldn't let one guy ruin your night, but if the disrespect goes to that level, you have to be able to make a judgment call. But you have to always remember to be careful, because you don't know what's going on. Everybody's a badass now, as they say, which is not true. Actually, people are more cowardly now than they were before. But, you know, it's interesting, though. That whole conversation made me make this video, because it's about like being able to perceive things differently than others and perceive situations differently, because the meme is vague enough to where we can make our own conclusions on it. But it's also interesting to see sort of how people handle situations like that in confrontation. Me personally, I have no problem with confrontation. I've had issues in the past with people who are non-confrontational, who are passive-aggressive, and I lose respect for them, because we should be able to talk to each other and resolve our issues. That's always been my perspective. We should be able to talk grown-up to grown-up and resolve whatever problem we have. And if we can't, then we can go our separate ways, right, in disagreements. But there's some people out there who don't want to do that. It's cowardly, passive-aggressive behavior. And because of that, you know, they're just different people. It becomes more of all right, if you want to be that way type situation. I never bother with it, but it is annoying in my opinion. But the bottom line of this video is remember to read the room and read the situation, and don't do dumb stuff. You know what I mean? If you see a situation that you think is bad that could potentially lead to you being hurt, bail. But at the same time, don't let people disrespect you. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, I know it sounds contradictory, but it's really not. You have to kind of find a balance in life here and be smart with your decisions, but at the same time, tackle life with bravery and courageousness. I know it's a weird topic, but it just popped in my head and I figured I'd do it. I wasn't going to even do a SPEAKDOM today, but it's interesting. It's something I found interesting, and I was going to do one next week, and I have no idea what the topic's going to be, so if you have any topic suggestions, I would take them, because I have a few different ideas, but I don't know if I want to plunge into that right now, because we're in the middle of a pandemic. But you know what? I'm open to whatever topics you want me to cover on these SPEAKDOMs. I am open to it, and I have taken requests before, so you know what? Shoot me one, and maybe we'll do a viewer's choice. That would be great. Thank you again, and I will talk to you soon. I promise.